Abhishek, I would request you to stay on with us. We're getting some more breaking news, and this is coming in from Turkey. As the Turkish President Erdoğan has now gone on to say, and I'm quoting from the statements that he's made over Hamas. He has said that Hamas is not a terror organization. In fact, they are trying to save their people and homeland, and Hamas is a group of liberation. They're talking about the Palestinian liberation is what Erdogan goes ahead and says. And let's first take a look at that reaction, then we'll go back to my colleague Abhishek.
Indeed, is not a terrorist organization, but they are trying to save their people and their homeland. So Hamas is a group for salvation and also the Mujahids. So one of our poets says the following: a 6-year-old boy runs and its kite flies over the trees. And you have run just like this boy once. Do not murder kids. Let the clouds not murder people, but Israel is murdering kids. We have seen the grave situation of those kids, and we have seen what they have been doing against those kids. So we cannot allow those kids to be murdered, because we indeed hold on to the human values. And I have said this to their Prime Minister back then in Davos, and I have said to them that you also know how to kill, because I know how they murdered that kid in the hands of his father, and from there on I never visited Davos summit.
Abhishek continues to be with me. Abhishek, this is a huge statement that has been made by the Turkish President Erdoğan. Clearly, it is a Western world divided by what their stance has been on the Israel-Hamas conflict to what the Muslim world has had to say. But calling Hamas not a terrorist organization, what will be the global repercussion of this statement by Erdoğan? Abhishek?
Well, it doesn't look like the Turkish president is caring much about what the world is going to see or say, because just yesterday we had French President Emmanuel Macron visiting Tel Aviv, meeting Benjamin Netanyahu, and both of them expressing solidarity in the fight against terrorism. So much so that the French president went ahead and said that he is going to create a coalition that will fight the terrorist group Hamas. But before anything, any formalities could happen on that front, we are seeing another major NATO member, Turkey, calling that Hamas is not even a terrorist organization. So while the world continues to condemn terrorist attack on Israel, there are partners, there are major powers in that region, especially Turkey, who does not consider Hamas as a terrorist organization. They consider Hamas as a resistance force, as a force which has been fighting for a cause, a political cause, and there are certain elements of that force who are going violent. So the world will have to grapple up with the fact that there is no consensus on the issue, especially in the region where the conflict is right now happening. It is not the conflict that is happening in Europe. So Europe's overall approach on the entire issue may be different, but the countries who are in the region, Turkey, Iran, Syria, Iraq, UAE, Saudi, they have an approach, they have the idea, and their geopolitical context will have to be considered before calling Hamas or taking any action against Hamas terrorists.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Abhishek. In fact, defense expert AK Siwach is also with us on the broadcast now. Mr. Siwach, first of all, how do you read this statement that's just been made by the Turkish President Erdoğan, where he's underlining the fact that Hamas is not a terrorist organization? It is in fact is fighting for the liberation of Palestine, and it is a liberation group. Having said that, once he makes that statement, if we go back in history, PLO was the one liberation group at that time which was dead against Hamas. So how does one read this statement?
As far as Erdogan is concerned, the president of Turkey, this statement is a very loose statement and one can say undiplomatic statement given by him. Everyone knows Hamas is a terrorist organization. The terrorism which they perpetrated on 7th October on Israel, who can forget? I agree that there is no definition of terrorism which has been approved by the United Nations. But everyone knows that as far as Hamas is concerned, that they have been using the civilians, they have been attacking on the civilians, and they have nothing to do with the cause of Palestine. They are not representing as far as Palestine is concerned. It is a PLO. As far as Hamas is concerned, it is a pure terrorist organization and they must be dealt accordingly. But what happened is, as far as Turkey is concerned, it is, Erdogan is playing to the gallery of the Muslim world. It wants to become a Khalifa for Muslim world. It wants to challenge the hegemony of Saudi Arabia and UAE. And that's why he's telling that as far as they are concerned, Hamas is not a terrorist organization. They are representing the political will of the Palestine. That is totally false. As far as the Palestine is concerned, it is the only PLO. And as far as Hamas is concerned, for them, the Palestinians do not matter. Today in Gaza Patti, they are making use of the civilian as a human shield. They are not bothered as to whether they will be killed or not. So I suppose it is a very immature, imbalanced statement given by Recep Erdogan, the president of Turkey.
Okay, Major General Siwach, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. The humanitarian crisis works both ways. Of course, there are so many that are being killed in Israel, and the numbers are doubled in the Gaza Strip, and that is the humanitarian crisis that the UN is now talking about. What happens to that? Is there going to be a ceasefire? Should be the big question at the moment. We are slipping into a very, very short break, coming right back with lots more.